Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever found yourself wondering why the same names seem to crop up again and again when investment schemes go wrong, leaving this trail of, well, unanswered questions and, for investors, just lost money?
It's a really troubling pattern.
Yeah, and today we're doing a deep dive into one particular name, Tony Hughes. He's someone whose name is frequently linked to several, high-profile investment failures, especially ones involving these things called unregulated loan notes.
Right. And our mission here really is to try and pull back the curtain on these recurring patterns. We want to look at the specific companies, the people involved, and crucially, what it all means for the loan note holders caught up in it.
So moving beyond just single incidents to see if there's a bigger picture, a systemic issue?
Exactly. We hope this exploration helps you, our listener, get a better handle on the mechanisms, really, that are at play in these often quite complex, quite opaque investment areas.
That sounds essential. Okay, so where do we start seeing these patterns with Tony Hughes?
Well, in the investment world, especially the unregulated side, names can come and go pretty quickly. But Tony Hughes, his name is remarkably persistent.
Persistent how?
Public records, the ones you can find at Companies House, that's the UK's official company register, they clearly show him involved in multiple companies. And these companies, between them, raised millions of pounds through these unregulated loan notes.
Okay, can you just quickly explain what those are again? Unregulated loan notes.
Sure. Think of them like IOUs. A company issues them directly to investors, often promising pretty high returns. But the key word is unregulated. They operate outside the usual safety nets and protections you'd get with, say, regulated investments like ISAs or pensions.
Got it. And the outcome for investors in these cases linked to Hughes.
Consistently disappointing, unfortunately. That's putting it mildly in many cases.
Right. So let's start pulling on one of those threads then. What's an early, clear example involving Hughes?
One of the first clear connections, and a place where we at Insolvency Law have actually received a lot of complaints, is a company called Platinum Assets and Developments Limited.
Okay, Platinum Assets and Development.
Yeah, this was part of a wider group of schemes associated with a chap named William Jackson. We've heard directly from loan note holders who are, well, still waiting for redemptions that never materialized.
And Hughes' role there.
This is where it gets particularly concerning. He wasn't just listed as a director for a time. According to the records, he still holds shares in the company.
Still holds shares, even now, with investors fighting for their money.
Exactly. That suggests more than just a past involvement, doesn't it? It points to a deeper, maybe ongoing stake, which is pretty significant given the situation.
Wow. Okay. And it doesn't stop with Platinum, I gather. We mentioned high-profile collapses.
No, it definitely doesn't stop there. You really can't talk about this without discussing the High Street Group. That was one of the biggest loan note collapses we've seen in recent years. Huge sums involved.
And Tony Hughes' connection to High Street Group, was it minor or?
Oh, far from minor. His involvement was extensive, really extensive. He held directorships across a whole raft of different entities within that group.
Like which ones? Can you give us an idea?
Sure. There was High Street Commercial Finance Limited. That one's now liquidated, basically wound up.
Okay.
Then there was High Street Group Contact Center Limited, High Street Boutique Finance Limited, High Street Boutique Commercial Funding PLC, and High Street Financial Limited. It's quite a list.
That is a list. And many of those were directly involved in issuing the unregulated products.
Yes, precisely. Many were tied directly to these unregulated investment products, and now they're either under administration or in liquidation. Thousands, literally thousands, of loan note holders are left waiting for answers, waiting for any kind of resolution.
When you see someone holding directorships across so many related companies in a group that then collapses like that,
it suggests more than just, having your name on the paperwork. It really points towards deep operational involvement, doesn't it? Being right in the thick of it.
So with that level of involvement across multiple failed schemes, Platinum, High Street Group, it starts to look less like coincidence.
Yeah.
This is the pattern you mentioned earlier.
It absolutely is. You get to a point where the recurring names, the recurring structures, they stop feeling like isolated incidents. They form a very clear, discernible pattern.
What are the common elements you see in this pattern?
Well, there are common structures, often very complex company setups, lots of interconnected entities, which can make it hard to follow the money. Then there's the aggressive marketing we talked about. And interestingly, a recurring name often pops up as the supposed security trustee.
Is that?
a company called Castle Trust and Management Services Limited. Their name appears frequently in these situations.
Okay, let's pause there. A security trustee. What role are they supposed to play, and why is it significant if the same one keeps appearing in failed schemes?
Right, good question. A security trustee is meant to be an independent safeguard. They're supposed to hold assets or some form of collateral on behalf of the investors. So if the company gets into trouble, the trustee steps in to protect the investor's money using those assets. It's meant to be a layer of protection. But when you see the same trustee name linked to multiple schemes that have failed, leaving investors out of pocket, it raises pretty serious questions about how effective that security actually was in practice. Was it genuine protection or just, part of the architecture?
And these complex structures you mentioned, they make it harder to see what's really going on.
Yes, often these complicated setups with layers of companies seem almost designed to obscure the flow of funds. It makes it incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible, to trace who is really in control or where the investor's money ultimately ended up when things went south.
Okay, structure is one part of the pattern. What about the marketing? How did they actually get people to invest?
Oh, the marketing was slick. Very aggressive. Both High Street Group and Platinum, for example, were pushed using glossy brochures, professional-looking websites, and big, bold promises.
Promises of what?
High returns, often double-digit returns, 10%, 12%, or even more per year. Far higher than anything you could get from a bank or standard savings account, which obviously sounds very attractive.
And is there a pattern in who was doing the marketing as well?
Interestingly, yes, there are recurring individuals there too. Someone named Sonali Craddock, for instance. She was linked to the marketing efforts for both High Street Group and Platinum.
Both of them.
Yes, and now her name has surfaced again in connection with another loan note issuer called Ashbrooks Group, which, surprise, surprise, is reportedly facing delays with its redemption payments to investors.
So the same marketing figure moving from one troubled scheme to potentially another.
It appears that way. And Ashbrooks Group, incidentally, is promoted by an outfit called New Capital Link.
New Capital Link. Have we heard that name before?
We have. They are an unregulated introducer, meaning they connect investors with these products but aren't regulated themselves by the financial authorities like the FCA. And New Capital Link has its own history of concerns related to promoting high-risk, unregulated investments.
So it's not just the same director figure like Hughes, but potentially the same marketers, the same introducers, all moving between these schemes. It sounds like a repeatable formula.
That's exactly what it looks like, a repeatable model. Hughes wasn't just a name on a list for High Street and Platinum. Sources suggest he was instrumental in actually structuring the operations, running the schemes day to day.
So same team, same playbook.
Leading, unfortunately, to the same outcome for investors. Missed payments, complaints mounting up, and then eventually, often, just silence.
It really underlines that this isn't just about one or two bad decisions or bits of bad luck.
No. It points towards a model. You have unregulated introducers operating outside the main financial safety nets. They push high-yield promises, that's the bait, often masking, enormous risks. Then you get these vague security arrangements, using terms like security trustee, that sound official but might offer very little real legal protection when tested.
And the final step.
When things inevitably go wrong, when payments stop, the loan note holders, the investors, are left completely in the dark. Communication dries up. It's incredibly frustrating and stressful for them.
It's like a vanishing act, isn't it? You mentioned the loud marketing at the start.
Yeah, and then complete silence when the money stops flowing back out. And it's not just the communication that vanishes. Sometimes the public record does too.
How so?
Well, remember New Capital Link, the introducer for Ashbrooks? They once had a blog post up. It was titled something like Northumberland Living, The Truth About West Chevington Farm.
Okay, and what did it say?
It openly praised a partnership between William Jackson, him again from Platinum, and Tony Hughes. It lauded their supposed decades of experience and claimed they followed best practices. Really glowing stuff.
Let me guess. That blog post isn't easy to find anymore.
Vanished. Completely disappeared from their site. Now, maybe there's an innocent explanation, but it fits a pattern we see quite often. Content that promotes these figures or schemes is loudly trumpeted, but once questions are asked or things go wrong, it gets quietly deleted.
Which makes it harder for the next potential investor to do their research, or for investigators to piece together the history. It's like scrubbing the past.
Precisely. It reinforces this feeling of a vanishing trail.
So, bringing it up to the present, what about Tony Hughes now? We know he still holds shares in Platinum, but is he involved in these newer ventures?
Well, his name might not be formally listed as a director in some of the very latest ventures being talked about, like a venture in climate or the specific Northumberland Living Almwick development site. But as we said, he still holds those shares in Platinum Assets and Developments. That link remains. And perhaps more significantly, his name still comes up frequently in the complaints and communications we receive from worried investors across various schemes.
So even if he's not on the current paperwork for some things.
Exactly. It leaves you asking some critical questions, doesn't it? Is he still involved, maybe behind the scenes? Why do we keep seeing the same individuals, the same operational patterns cropping up in scheme after scheme after scheme? And perhaps the biggest question, when will these clear repeating patterns actually trigger a proper, thorough investigation that might lead to some real accountability?
He must be incredibly frustrating for the loan note holders caught in the middle of all this. It's not just about the money they've lost, is it?
No, absolutely not. From the conversations we have, the frustration goes so much deeper. It's profoundly about broken trust. It's about feeling completely misled, maybe even foolish, and then seeing a total lack of accountability from the people involved.
There's an emotional toll, a psychological impact that goes way beyond the financial loss.
Definitely. And that's a really crucial point that ties us all together. Look, one investment scheme failing. Maybe it's bad luck, maybe poor management, it happens. But when you see the same people using the same company structures, employing the same marketing tactics, linked through the same introducers, appearing across multiple failures.
It stops looking like coincidence.
It really does. It strongly suggests something more systemic. A repeatable model, perhaps designed, consciously or unconsciously, to attract funds with high promises, operate in regulatory gray areas, and ultimately leave investors holding the bag when it collapses.
This deep dive really underscores how important it is for anyone considering investments, especially unregulated ones, to look for these patterns, to ask questions when the same names keep reappearing. The trail here, from Platinum through High Street Group, involving figures like Hughes and introducers like New Capital Link, seems pretty clear. And alarmingly, as you said, it seems to be still growing.
Yeah. And it leaves us with a final thought, perhaps, for you, the listener. In a world overflowing with information, how can we get better as individuals at spotting these subtle signs of a system at work, rather than just seeing isolated events, especially when it involves our own trust, our own money?
And what does it say about accountability in our society when this vanishing trail, the deleted blog posts, the complex structures, so often seems to prevent those responsible for repeated financial devastation from ever truly facing consequences? Something important to think about.
Disclaimer. Insolvency Law is not a firm of solicitors or licensed insolvency practitioners and does not provide legal advice, investment advice, or any regulated services under the Legal Services Act 2007 or the Financial Services and Markets Act 2000. All content published by INL relating to High Street Group, including blogs and podcasts, is provided free of charge for general information and educational purposes only and must not be relied upon as professional advice. Where appropriate, INL may take legal assignment of loan notes issued by High Street Group companies in its own name for the purpose of enforcement and recovery. In such cases, INL bears all associated costs and risks, and the original loan note holder is fully insulated from legal expense and liability. For inquiries related to High Street Group investigations or recovery, please email investigations@insolvencyandlaw.co.uk.